All right, welcome everyone. We still have a couple minutes before we're set to start, and I'm sure people are going to continue joining. But you are in the right place, so welcome. And we will get started right at 6. Okay, here we are, 6 o'clock. For those of you that have joined in the last couple minutes, welcome to the resume workshop. I'm sure we're going to have a few more that are going to join the meeting in the next couple minutes. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction and some housekeeping while some people continue to log in. First off, introduction, my name is Laura Polk. I am the Assistant Director of Career Services at the Embry-Riddle Prescott campus. We may have some Daytona and Worldwide students joining as well, so if you are from either of those campuses, welcome. I am responsible for the aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, space physics, astronomy, and newly cyber intelligence and security students. Just took over that degree program as well. So when I designed this resume workshop, I am kind of targeting those degree programs. That being said, if you're from another degree program, this is still going to be super informative. And at the end, I'm going to introduce you to your career services program manager, so that if you wanted to reach out to them for a personalized resume review, you can do that. Just so that everyone knows, I am recording this presentation, and afterwards I'm going to upload it to our Career Services YouTube site so that you'll be able to view it after the fact, and other students that may have not been able to attend today will be able to access that as well. So we are recording. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you guys have questions throughout the workshop, go ahead and type them in the chat box. At the end during the Q&A, I'll read through those questions and make sure everyone's questions get answered. And also at the very end, you'll have an opportunity to unmute and ask by talking as well if you'd prefer to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see how I can make this bigger. Can everyone see my screen? Can you just, if you can see my screen, will a couple of you just type in the chat that we're good to go so I can make sure everyone can see and hear? Cool. Thank you, Alex. Lots of yes. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So, oh no, it's not gonna, oh, there we go. All right, starting on the agenda. So just real quick, what we're gonna go over in this workshop is how to format your resume. We're gonna go over each section of the resume and what you should be writing in each of those sections. We're gonna go over the importance of including keywords in your resume and sometimes the difficulty of getting through that online matching system to get an interview for an internship or a job. I'm going to go over some additional resources that you can access after this workshop. And then at the end, we're going to do a Q&A. And I mentioned this before. Sorry, I got to let in a couple more people and it all. As I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to chat, type them in the chat box, and I'll go over them at the end. So first, I just want to talk about resume being your marketing piece. So the resume is very, very important. It's that one-page marketing piece telling a recruiter who you are, your skills, and why you might be a good fit for the job. So oftentimes, on average, you're going to have about 8 seconds that a resume or that a recruiter has to read your resume, which is not a lot of time to make a good impression. So we want to make sure that this document is well thought out, that doesn't have any mistakes, and that it's really easy to skim, because again, the recruiter is only going to spend about 8 seconds reading it. Okay, next I want to talk a little bit about formatting. So in 98% of cases, most college students are only going to have a one-page resume, and that's what recruiters want from you. Very rarely does a college student have a 2-page resume. Sometimes you do have enough experience that it needs to go to 2 pages. Sometimes for example, you'll have like an ex-military person that's had quite a bit of experience before coming to college, or other non-traditional college students that have very extensive work experience that will go to 2 pages. But for most of you, especially if you're an underclassman, I want you to focus on keeping your resume to 1 page. We want to use black and white traditional font. I know a lot of you like to get creative when designing your resume, and that's great, but especially for our engineering degrees, it's a bit more of a conservative field, and they want just that black and white resume. We want to make sure it's not too small. I wouldn't go smaller than a 10.5 font size. We don't want you to include any pictures or logos. The reason for that being there are laws in the United States where recruiters aren't allowed to discriminate based on our protected statuses, so we don't want to include a picture. We also don't want to include logos because we don't know if you're allowed to use that trademarked logo on your resume. So I see students sometimes putting like the LinkedIn logo, technically not allowed. You're also not allowed to use Embry-Riddle's logo on the resume. So just keep all of those off. Sometimes it's hard to keep it to that 1 page, so you can go down to 1/2-inch margins all around if you need to. Since we do only have traditional fonts and black and white font, you can play around with bolds, italics, all caps, bullet points, etc., to kind of make it easier to skim and kind of be creative on how to make it look good on the page. Don't use first person in the resume. Alternatively, you want to start each sentence with a strong action verb, because action verbs translate to being skills on the resume. So that's a great way to start a sentence, because they're going to be skimming your resume. Do not include references on the resume. You have just very minimal space to make a good impression, and if they want your references, they're going to ask for them. So I don't want you to waste that precious space on that 1 page including references. And it's at the end when you're done with your resume, when you're uploading it to an application or to Handshake, make sure it's a PDF and not a Word document, because sometimes the formatting can get screwy, and we want to make sure that they see it as it's meant to be seen. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about with formatting. This is our resume template that we use. The way that we've come up with this template is feedback from employers about what they want to see on your resume. And we ask them every time we're here at the expo. So you can rest assured that this is what recruiters want to see. And that's not to say you have to use this exact template, but that this is a good template to use if you want to, or to kind of use as a model when creating your own template. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go through each section and what you should have on your resume. So to start off, we're gonna talk about the header. So obviously on the top of your resume, we want your name, and we want that to be big and bold so that it's something that they see right off the bat. Don't make it the same size font as the rest of your resume. Phone number is important, double check that. Same with email address, double check that. I've had students get that wrong and then recruiters don't know how to reach them. So you wanna make sure you get that right. For your email address, best to use your Embry-Riddle email address, but if you wanna use a personal one, just make sure it's professional and it's not, it's professional sounding. A lot of you will include an address on your resume, but it's really not necessary. If anything, it might scare away a recruiter from recruiting you because they think that you might not be willing to relocate. So the only time I would include an address is if it helps you. So if you have a home address in Phoenix, for example, and you're only applying to internships in Phoenix, you might want to include Phoenix, Arizona on your resume. Otherwise, I would leave it off completely. If you have a good LinkedIn profile that you want recruiters to see, add your URL. Otherwise, there's no reason to put that on there. If you have an active security clearance, I want that on the top of your resume, bold, and something that they see right off the bat, because that could make it, very, kind of put you to the top of the list of an internship or a job, because as a lot of you know, paying for a security clearance could be upwards of $10,000 to $15,000. So that's kind of money in the bank if they see that at the top of your resume. And we talked about this a little bit at first, but do not include a picture, images, or logos for the reasons that we talked about earlier. Oops, I don't know why it went there. Sorry. Okay, so that's what your header should look like: your name, phone, email, LinkedIn, usually not much else. Okay, next, at the top of your resume, if you're a traditional college student, your education should go first. Once you've been in the working world for a while, your education will move to the bottom of your resume, but right now, since you're in college, I want it to be the first thing that the recruiter sees. So we want to include your most recent education first. So for all of you, that would be Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Write it out. A lot of you forget that hyphen right there, so make sure you hyphen Embry-Riddle. If you're gonna use the acronym ERAU throughout your resume, the first time you write Embry-Riddle, you're gonna wanna write in parentheses ERAU. Include all of your degree programs. So that would be your majors, minors, concentrations. So don't write out major, write out Bachelor of Science. It sounds fancier. And that's the degrees that all of you are getting: a Bachelor of Science, not a Bachelor of Arts. If you have a concentration, so let's say you're aerospace engineering, I want you to write either aeronautics or astronautics. And if you have any minors, make sure you list that as well. You want to include the campus, city, and state. So for some of you, that'll be Prescott. For some of you, that will be Daytona. We want to include your graduation date so they know when you're available. The start date is unnecessary. It's more important for them to know when you'll be graduating because it places you as freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. In 95% of the cases, we want to include your GPA. For most engineering or cyber positions, they'll have a minimum GPA requirement of a 3.0. But even if you don't meet that GPA requirement, I think it's important to list it, because what happens is if you list no GPA, oftentimes they think it's worse than it really is. So if you find that your GPA slips below their required GPA requirement, it's important to qualify it. So some students that I work with, have a 2.8 GPA, but are working full-time while going to college. So I think it's important for the recruiter to get that full picture. So in that case, you would say GPA 2.8 while working 35 hours a week, something like that. So what this will look like, as we said, the school name, your degree, concentration. If they had a minor, they'd put it underneath here. For this template, it's Daytona. You could change that to Prescott, when you're graduating, and then your GPA. For those of you that are freshmen, it's okay to list your high school right now because you're just a first semester freshman. But by next semester, or definitely by your sophomore year, you need to remove your high school. If you're a transfer student, you can list where you transferred from underneath here. Or some students will do like a study abroad. You could list that underneath education as well. Okay, next, it's important to list your most relevant experience to the job. So for some of you, if you've had a previous, let's say you're an aerospace engineering major, and you've had a previous aerospace engineering internship, that's the first thing I want the recruiter to read about. But for a lot of you, what that's gonna look like is your engineering project experience. Since you're a college student, a lot of you don't have engineering experience yet, and that's totally fine. So we wanna talk about your transferable skills, and mostly that's gonna come from the projects that you do through school. So I'll kind of show in the next slide what that might look like. But again, we want to start each sentence with a strong action verb, avoid personal pronouns, and definitely if you've had any leadership roles in any of these projects, it's important to list that as well. So what this will look like, so this person writes about project experience. So that you're going to name your project. Teamwork is a big buzzword in the engineering industry or any industry right now. So saying how many people worked on your team is important. Or if you were the team lead, you would put team lead, a 7-person team. And then a short description of what you did. So again, started with a strong action verb, created, dimensioned, developed, all good. A pet peeve of mine, and probably all recruiters, is using the same action verb over and over. So make sure you don't say created, created, created. We want to use a different verb because again, that verb transfers directly into a skill that you're trying to tell them that you have. So we want to make sure we can talk about as many skills as possible. Okay, next we want to talk about any jobs that you may have held, so work experience. We want to list the company name, position, title, city, state, and start and end dates. I get this question all the time. I'll look at a resume of a freshman and I'll say, have you ever held a job? And they say, yeah, but it's not related to my degree. Doesn't matter. Most recruiters want to see that you've had at least some type of work experience, and it does not have to be related to engineering or whatever your degree program is. So if you are a lifeguard or a babysitter or a tutor, these are all good things to put and show, because any job experience shows that you're responsible, you can work in a team, you can handle money, you know, any kind of skills that goes into having any type of job. If, as much as possible though, whatever the job is, we want to include as many transferable skills as possible to what your degree program is. Another thing to consider when writing about work experience. So we're just taking an example here. Let's say you worked at Einstein Bagels. We want to be very careful that you say the actual name of the company. So Einstein Bagels is actually called Einstein Bros Bagels. That's how they're trademarked. So we want to use the exact name. It's important to list where it was and the dates and your title. So this person wrote general employee when their actual title was store team member. I see this especially with students that don't think their position is related to their degree at all. They'll kind of haphazardly write a description, operated cash register. We really, again, we only have one page to make a good impression to the recruiter. So we want to take every opportunity, again, to write about transferable skills, show some of those soft skills that you might have. So leadership, communicating well with others. So just kind of short, like compare and contrast. So sold bagels and coffee to customers. This sounds much better. Ensured customer satisfaction by recording accurate orders and providing efficient service. So for some of you, a great way to do this, or to kind of decide how to write your job description, is to play around on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn and find other people that have had that same position and kind of see what they're writing about. And don't obviously copy it word for word, but it can give you some it kind of jog your memory of some of the responsibilities that you may have had in that position. So as you can see, this person wrote an internship experience and also some work experience. So they have the name of the organization, their job title within the department they were in, where it was, the dates, and some really good descriptions of what they did in those positions. Be extra careful with your tenses. So this is a past experience. It ended in 2017. So they're using past tense. For anything, let's say they were a current resident director or RA, let's say that would say to present, and then they would use present tense verbs. So they would say select, train, and supervise. So just be careful with your tenses. Okay, next, let's talk about skills. So in general, you want to list your technical skills as opposed to your soft skills. So soft skills would be things like teamwork, good communicator, conflict resolution. These are all really good and important skills, but the recruiters don't really want to see that on your resume, especially those of you in very technical degree programs. They want to save those soft skills for the interview. That's when they're really seeing whether you're going to be a good fit for the position. So in general, when you're thinking about the skills to list, let's stick to the technical skills. So that would be the coding that you know, the engineering software, word processing, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, those types of things. Once you're an upperclassman, consider including your relevant coursework. For those of you that are freshmen and sophomores, you don't need to list that yet. Wait till you're about a junior and then you can start listing it. And you want to be specific for the programs that you know. So I see all the time people writing down Microsoft Office, but I think, Microsoft Office technically includes about 18 programs. So we want to write down the exact ones that you know. So we're being honest about what your skills are. So this is a really good way to organize your skills by categories. So this person listed all the engineering software that they knew, office software, technical. So if you've ever had like lab experience, drafting, manufacturing, that type of thing, you can list that under technical. If you know any languages, skills would be a good place to list that as well. For those of you that have like certifications, you could also list that under skills. And then a lot of you choose to write about extracurriculars on your resume, which is great. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but leadership and teamwork are huge buzzwords in the industry right now. So anytime you have the opportunity to be a lead on a team or a club, I would seek out those opportunities because it looks really great on your resume. Also, it can include both industry-related and non-industry-related activities. So if you're a part of a sorority or fraternity, those are definitely things that you can list on your resume. And kind of like when preparing for college, recruiters want to see you heavily involved in a few organizations as opposed to, shallowly involved in a lot of them. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. You don't have to join every club on campus. They kind of want to see where your interests lie. Again, for this template, we had leadership, again, because that will just really pop out to them. And then if you have leadership positions, it's kind of great to put it first and then the name of the organization, because that's the first thing that they're going to read when they skim. So that's kind of what a leadership or an extracurricular section might look like on your resume. And then the last thing that you may want to consider adding to your resume is any awards or honors that you've received. So if you've ever been on the honors roll or dean's list, you could list that. Scholarship names are good. Recruiters used to like seeing the dollar amount. Now they are kind of uncomfortable with it. So I don't know, it's up to you, but definitely any scholarships that you've received, I would include the names of those scholarships. Other awards or honors are good. I would exclude high school awards after you're a freshman, unless they're very exemplary or related to your degree program. So if you're an Eagle Scout, that's definitely something you want to keep on there. Or if you, let's say you're a degree or an engineering student and you received an engineering award, that's something you want to leave on there. but things like I'm trying to think of the ones that National Honor Society, things like that, you can remove at this point. And that's what that might look like on your resume. Okay, so we've kind of gone through piece by piece of what the resume should look like, but let's talk about a couple other things. So I wanted to talk about keywords on the resume. And a lot of you may have heard this, but when you apply for internships online, it is not automatically being read by the employer or by a recruiter. For many, many companies, they're using an AI or a computer matching system to filter through the resumes for them and to kind of filter through and pick out the top resumes that they want. So it's a game of trying to include the most keywords as possible in your resume to try to get through these computer systems. So the definition of a keyword are words or short phrases that relate to particular requirements for a job. So really the best way to do this, if you want to be really good, is for each job that you're applying to, reading through your resume and making sure that the words that are on the job description are also in your resume. And students go so far as to even putting in white font keywords all over the margins and submitting it as a PDF. Now, I'm not recommending that you do that, but I'm trying to make a point here of how important it is to make sure that these keywords are there. I don't think an objective statement was on this template, but a lot of students at the very top of their resume will include an objective statement that says something like to obtain an internship in the engineering industry or something like that. That statement is a great way to sneak in some keywords, including the company name, job title, and even the job requisition number. So for each job, if you wanted to change your objective statement to include the company name, the job title, and some other things that are in the requisition, that's a good way to sneak in some keywords. But what you'll find is the more and more that you apply, the more that you're going to start recognizing those keywords that are in the job description, and so that you can start including those in your resume. But just make sure that you're aware and that you're trying as much as possible to sneak in those keywords so that you have the best chance possible in getting through the system. Okay, I wanted to go through some additional resources. So I know I used an engineering template, but on our website, we have templates for all the degree programs that we offer. So let's show you. So if you, and this isn't through Ernie, this is through our external site. So all you'd have to do is search for Embry-Riddle Career Services, and then it'll take you to this site right here. You're gonna click on resume/CV tips and samples. And then if you scroll down, you can see we have samples for most of our degree programs. So for example, if we have any of you that are, I don't know if we have any aeronautics students, but if you're a pilot, your resume is going to look different from what I was showing. So you would want to click on that template, and it's not good. Oh, it was about to load, sorry. Let's say, let's go back to that one because I want you to see it. So this would be an example of someone that's, trying to be a pilot. The first thing you want to list after education is flight experience as opposed to project experience on the engineering resume. This site also has a lot of other great resources for you. We've talked a little bit about action verbs, on how you want to start each sentence with a strong action verb. So that's literally a list of good action verbs that you can use. Some general resume tips. If you are applying to graduate school, you're going to want to write a CV as opposed to a resume, or a curriculum vitae. I don't want to say it. And there's several templates here that you can use as well. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of all the templates that you can have access to. Okay, next steps. So once you work on your resume and you think it's good to go, it's important to reach out to your career services advisor for a personalized resume review. And I'll click here so you can see who that is. And then you should upload your resume to Handshake. So most of you by now should know what Handshake is, but if you're just new to the university and you don't know yet, I'm going to be running another workshop, I think it's next week, on how to utilize that important platform. But basically what it is, it's our internship and job posting website. So each of you should have your resume on there, because if you want to apply through jobs through there, all you have to do is upload your resume and then click apply, and then it's all done. Also, if you wanted to participate in our virtual career fair on September 30th, your resume has to be uploaded there as well, because that's how recruiters see your resume. Anytime a company reaches out to me and says, hey, do you have a stack of resumes for me for this internship? I get them off Handshake. So it's a really just a great way to have, have a wealth of opportunities at your fingertips. So just make sure once you have your resume reviewed by us to make sure you upload it to Handshake. So if you're new and you don't know who your career services person is, again, you can go to our career services webpage, and I'm so sorry, it's going slow. We currently just had someone retire, but there's 3 of us right now. So here's me, Laura Polk. Again, I went over my degree programs, but you're going to want to find your other degree programs here. If you're at the Prescott campus, you're either assigned to me, to Kevin Hewardine, our director, or to Darren Hudak. So you can reach out to those people, and they're very happy to review your resume. Let's see, get back to my presentation. No, I have to go through the whole thing. All right, I believe though that I was towards the end and we were ready for Q&A. So if you've got some questions lined up, make sure you're typing them in the chat box. You could also unmute, but we're ready for Q&A. So we're gonna go ahead. If you guys have any questions, you can unmute and ask them. I'm also gonna try to find out how to find the chat. Oh no, sorry, you couldn't see something. All right, so I'm gonna answer some of the questions that I see here. And if you, you could also unmute if you wanted to ask them, so. All right, so Jillian asked, can we use color on our resume? I don't recommend it. I would recommend only using black and white, but if you wanted to use some color, just make sure they're more conservative colors. So your navy blues, nothing too bright or neon. William, where can we access this template? I showed you at the end, but basically all you need to do is Google Embry-Riddle Career Services, click on resources, and then all of the resume templates show up by degree programs. Oh, Jillian, thank you, shared it. Should we have a site with professional projects under our LinkedIn, such as GitHub? I think that is an excellent idea. So especially for engineering students, a lot of these engineering companies are utilizing things like LinkedIn more and more, and are open to having you have something like your own website that shows all of your projects. And it's a really easy thing that you can just include as a link on your resume, because you only have one page. So if you have more that you want to share, a great way to direct them to that is through something like a personal website where you can display those projects. Joshua, where can we find this recording afterwards? So I'm going to upload it to our YouTube channel, and I will email it to everyone that was registered for the event. So you'll be getting it in the next couple days. I'll write down your name to make sure that you definitely get it in case you weren't registered before. Ooh, you guys are answering my questions before I even get a chance to. Would high school first robotics as team captain be something to list? Absolutely. So I don't want to scare you off too much from removing all your high school stuff. but in general, the only things from high school that I want you to include are things that are relevant, and definitely robotics is relevant. So I think so that would be great to include on your resume. Does the project experience need to be during college, or can we include relevant projects from high school? As long as it's relevant, you can absolutely include them, especially as you're a freshman and sophomore. What you'll find though is once you're a junior and senior, since you just have that one page, you're gonna, eventually your high school projects will be replaced, but for now, absolutely, you can list those. Is it ever a good idea to include volunteer experience under work experience? Great question. So I didn't go over volunteer experience, but if you have volunteer experience, that is absolutely something that I want you to include on your resume, especially if you don't have any work experience. Volunteer would be a great thing to replace that work experience with, and definitely something that recruiters are interested in reading about. What would be put down as the company name when listing experience as a private tutor? Okay, great question. So for that, you could just put private tutor, and then they understand that you work for yourself. So private tutor would be sufficient, and then you didn't need to put the company name. What sort of coursework are people looking for aerospace engineering engineering stuff? So in general, I want you to list your engineering courses. They don't want to read calculus, physics, kind of prereq stuff that they know that you already have to take. So once you get to what we call the gauntlet and have like statics, solids, thermodynamics, those are the types of classes that they want to see listed under relevant experience. Can we include VEX robotics? Absolutely. I reached out to Kevin and he told me to put my software skills at the top of my resume. So if you are computer electrical software and working with Kevin, definitely follow his advice. I work mostly with the AE and ME students, so he's more well-versed with those students. So if that's what he's telling you to do, definitely follow his advice. And I'm really sorry I messed up once I went away from the Prezi, it looks like. Is Handshake a viable website to put on a resume, or wait? I don't understand this question. I think you mean to upload your resume to. You should definitely be uploading your resume to Handshake if that was the question. If you're currently in prelim, yes, I would include it and just use present tense for your verbs, and they'll realize that it's a current project experience. What does PLTW stand for?
That stands for Project Lead the Way.
Yes, you can include that. Absolutely. Okay, so I think I went through the chat. Does anyone have any other questions about resumes? You could either chat or you can unmute yourself either way.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can.
So say like through the school, I take a course named space mechanics. But if I am applying for an internship or say a job and I'm building my resume and I notice that they are calling that orbital mechanics, is it okay for me to change that name interchangeably depending on who I'm hiring or applying to be hired by? Or do I need to keep it what the school called it?
Oh, for that, I would keep it what the school calls it. So I would say space mechanics, but try to sneak in the word orbital like in a project experience or something like that. Because what's going to happen, and I don't think you would get to this point, but they're going to ask for your transcript at some point, especially if it's an entry-level position, and I wouldn't want them to catch you switching the name. Again, okay. I don't think that would happen, but just to be safe, yeah. Would it be helpful for me to show you guys again how to get to those resources since you didn't see it before? Yes, please. Okay. Let me get this right this time. And I apologize. I think we're all kind of new to this Zoom thing. Or maybe you guys aren't, but I am. Okay, new share, desktop, share. Okay, can you guys see my desktop? Where's the chat? Yes, okay. So from the internet, just type in, whoops, Embry-Riddle Career Services. And then the first site is going to take you to our external website. And this is good for you guys to know anyways. Because it's got a bunch of other information on there as well. But for all the resume templates, you're going to click on resources. And then on the left-hand side, again, a lot of resources, but resume/CV tips and samples. And then you scroll down and there's a sample from almost all of our degree programs. And then you can just click on it from there. This goes to a PDF. So if it would be helpful for you to have a document version of it, just email your career services person and they can send you it in a Word document. Any other questions that you guys have? Sounds like no. Okay, so we got done. Oh, thanks, Alex. Would a presidential volunteer award from high school be worth keeping on your resume? Yeah, for now, I would list it, but eventually, once you, I'm guessing you're an underclassman, once you're an upperclassman, we want to kind of replace those high school experiences with college experiences, but for now, absolutely. How do we get our resumes to be a template for others? Drew, I don't understand your question. You want your personal resume to be a template? Yeah, if you want to email it to me, if I think it's good enough, I don't know, maybe I'll include it. Tanner, where is the link to have your resume looked over by our career? So all you have to do is email us and say, hey, I would like a resume review, and we can do it over email, or some students want to actually set up an appointment. So we have like a whole half hour to talk about it. So it kind of depends. You can either email it and we can do a quick look over, or you can set up an appointment with us by just shooting us an email. Okay, and I think I got the rest up there. Any other questions? Okay. So thank you guys for attending. I'm going to go ahead and upload this recording, and I'll send the recording to everyone in case you want to review it again. And it'll also be uploaded to our Career Services YouTube channel, and I'll send you guys a link to that as well, because there's a lot of other resources, and every other workshop will be uploaded there. Travis, may I send you my resume today? Yes, I won't get a chance to look at it today, but I will look at it tomorrow. So anyone that's my degree programs, feel free to send me your resume. I'd be happy to review it. And thank you guys for attending virtually. And Yeah, if you have any other follow-up questions, just make sure to reach out to your career services manager because we're here to help you guys. So I'm gonna stop the share. Thanks, guys. You guys have a good evening as well.